All right, we're here with Brodie Merrill, Mr. Defenseman himself. Brodie, where are you reporting live from here?
I'm live from Oakville, Ontario, just outside of Toronto here. So it's good to see you, man. It's haven't seen you in a while. It's funny, you go through all these times where you spend a lot of time together, go through these different experiences, and then you move on and you kind of drift apart a little bit. So it's good to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. And we were just kind of right before we hit record, we were talking about, all the challenges of being apart from everyone. But one of the, I don't know if it's a silver lining, but one of the unique aspects of it is we were saying like kids' stick skills. This is probably stick skills should be at a premium these days. Oh, here we go. There he is.
I thought you were dodging me.
Always. Always. Clever. That is clever right there. I don't know if you two planned that out, but that was good.
Always.
Oh, I hope you don't mind me inviting myself on. I got caught down a rabbit hole with when Bison Sweeney was on. I got like a little bit jealous there. I was like, man, this is just like I miss those like post game conversations, and so I basically invited myself on. So I
love it.
Yeah, we should have called it locker room talk, but I think the president of the United States ruined that term to make that okay to do.
I think we're just doing these for us, and the fact that
I said that to Brodie, we're our own core demographic. It's a small, limited window.
We were saying that to Mitch before. It's like it's like a small, narrow kind of window of people that really. I was on my couch like laughing out loud at 10:30 at night. Alex was like, "What are you watching over there?" Like, it's like you wouldn't get it. Like just these references and these
references to people like Joe Volan or Stanley Tucci or well, normally I pick a record and have behind me, but I was caught off guard, and I don't know if I have a Tragically Hip record. I could see if I can go
there somewhere.
Drum one up. You might have to explain to the people why Tragically Hip is like, for some reason, they just are held in such high regards and good graces. I still don't know if I can name more than like 2 songs.
Yeah, what is the deal with that? Because I like Tragically Hip. Don't get me wrong, they're good, but Canadians love the Tragically Hip.
Kind of, it's a bit of a Canadian phenomenon in that, like they're kind of ours. So it's like, and especially Gore, the lead singer who passed away actually, probably 1.5 2 years ago now. But he was kind of our guy. He kind of like, it was an example like of a Canadian, right? So it's like, I don't know. It's always a cool thing. When I was down living in the U.S., I used to always see them in these small bars, and and I remember seeing them in Portland, Oregon, with like 200 people, and then in Canada, across Canada, they sell out the biggest arenas, and so it's it's tough to explain, but it's just like they're kind of ours, and I think and so that like the lyrics and everything, I think, kind of resonate with Canadians.
Is that the best form of celebrity, be Canadian famous, where it's like everyone's super nice, you're like making millions in Canada, and then you come to the US and people are like, hey, what's up, man? I think that's probably the best scenario. That's why I'd love to be an NHL guy, because like you can kind of fly under the radar, but if you're in Canada, you're a star.
It's actually a really good comparison. Like if you played on the New York Rangers, where in your hometown or in Canada, everyone would know you, but in New York, you can kind of fly under the radar, and that's actually a really good comparison.
Canadian famous, baby. We're all trying to be Canadian. I think we wrote a song right there.
Did you ever see the music documentary, Waiting for the Sugar Man?
No.
I've heard of it. It's the old, is he a Canadian guy? The singer,
no,
right? Singer-songwriter?
No, but I was going to try to draw a parallel here, but now it's just going to fall flat. But I'm going
to write it down. So
you brought a notepad to this. This is good.
This dude, right? I'll just spoil it for you. Spoiler alert. It's like 10 years old. So there's this, but it's like this Tragically Hip kind of thing. There's this dude, this musician, and I'll butcher about half of this, so you can still watch it. So his music, like, he blows up in like South Africa, blows up, and they're like this closed off country, blows up, And meanwhile, he's working as like a construction worker in like Detroit, but like is like a total like baller, like the way he dresses and everything. He still carries himself as this musician. So these people in South Africa like go on this hunt, like searching for the Sugar Man. And they go on this like hunt to find this guy. They find him in Detroit. He's like, this is like in the middle of a snowstorm. He's like down on his luck. And they're like, wait, what? Like you're like a god in South Africa.
The Hasselhoff phenomenon in Germany, right?
Yeah. They fly him into like Africa, and he like basically gets off this plane, and it's like a Truman Show thing where it's like he's on like national news. He's going into stadiums.
What was he doing in Detroit?
He's a construction worker. Because his music didn't take off in the States. And he plays in front of like 20, 30, 40,000 like stadiums that are packed.
There you go. This Trilogy Lacrosse Theater brought to you by Searching for Sugar. Product placement. All right, well, let's get into some videos here. I told Brodie that, there was a dearth of material. I think dearth means a lot. There was a lot of material to search through.
I only want to see one video and one video only.
Uh-oh.
That's a checking instructional video that Brodie does. I know he knows.
The Championship Productions. We talked about that. He forgot, but I did not.
There's been a few instructional videos over the years. Some that have come to light. Some that didn't see the light of day. So I remember that one. It resurfaced recently, and I just.
Let's start right off with that. I didn't download it, so we're gonna have to watch it right off of YouTube. But the quality is probably about the same.
That was in Portland. That was my rookie year, right out of college, and it was actually a pretty like legit film crew and everything.
I love how they put you in like the Georgetown like jersey.
Yeah,
Georgetown?
What's that?
That's not a Georgetown jersey?
It's supposed to kind of represent that.
There we go.
And that I don't know if you would know the name. His name was Ryan Marshall. He played on me with the Lumberjacks. He actually played at Duke, Team Canada gold medalist 2000. He was on that 2006 team. Midi from Duke.
The Half Moon. That's what we're calling it.
Yeah, made up names.
Who made up Half Moon?
I made it up.
You made it up?
Yeah. This is a Kyle Sweeney check right here.
Yeah, don't give him
Kyle Sweeney check. I don't know what to call it.
He'll give himself enough. You don't have to give it to him.
Oh my God.
So yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, vicious. Yeah. Should we get a little volume on here?
Trailing on his back. Then coming in over top and resetting.
And where'd you film this?
This was at a small college. Is Lewis and Clark in Portland?
You need to reset.
It's a small college in just outside of Portland, Oregon.
How long did you guys film this?
It was over the span of I'd say 2 or 3 days. We did I don't think that like the indoor version came to light, but yeah, we did. It was box and field, and yeah, I don't remember much more about it.
Are the Championship Productions residual checks still pouring in is the real question.
To be honest, I've never received 1 penny for this.
What?
Not 1 penny from this.
Did you get the sweet jersey?
I might have got maybe $500 at like the time.
Okay, all right.
That might have been. Yeah, I'm probably on the plus side of the ledger there, so I can't complain.
Give it a quick rewind, Mitch, just so we can see the name of this drill. This is really brilliantly named.
I think we have to wait till it finishes with the overlay.
The ding dong.
And then
All right, here we go.
Just simple drill.
Simple drill.
Just a simple drill you can do. Just a simple drill.
I actually remember seeing this, watching a Final Four game of the UVA defenseman doing this in warm-up. So that's actually where I got that from.
All right. Now, when's the first time you picked up a long pole? When you went to Salisbury School in Connecticut?
Pretty much. It was actually right before then. I was probably 16, 17 years old, trying out for the under-19 Canadian team. And so like no one was playing long stick in Canada at that time, and so it was like my chance to. But we had some good like attack middies. There's no way I was making it in as an attackman or a midi, so I picked up a pole right before tryouts, and I remember cutting down my the shaft a little bit, and ended up making that team, and playing against Team USA. I'm not sure where that would have been in your era, Ryan. Like you weren't on that team, but it was like Connor Gill and actually some of your teammates. There's a Princeton guy on that team that was really good.
There was a lot. BJ Prager and Owen Daly.
Yes, Owen Daly won the player of the tournament.
He's the best player in the world at age 18.
Yeah. BJ Prager too, who was great. And there's another guy too that didn't maybe play as much.
Matt Trevenin, my college roommate.
Really? Where were you in that?
I was the last guy cut.
Seriously?
Supposedly I was the last guy cut. That's what I've been told. They trimmed the roster down, and I was the last guy cut. And then something happened, and they like added a player. And then because BJ had such a huge freshman year at Princeton, and he was so age eligible, they took him.
Oh, okay.
That's the folklore that I was told, and that's kind of what I'm sticking with. Yeah.
Well, Well, I mean, it was Connor Gill was on that team. He just won the
title,
MVP of the national championship. Yeah, and so so that was my first time like playing defense. And so, man, it didn't go well. It didn't go well for me.
You say no one was playing long pole. Do you mean like actually no one had a long pole and there was just short sticks?
You know what? It was weird. Like field lacrosse, and you're like, oh. It hasn't. A lot's changed up here, but a lot's kind of remained the same too. But we never really had. We had a bit of field lacrosse going on. It's hard for me to even remember like my first experience of field lacrosse. Like we would play them through our towns or our community, but it was kind of like box lacrosse on a field, right? It was so it just there wasn't many. It just wasn't a lot of players playing with a long pole at the time. No one really wanted to.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much of a league going on where there was much field lacrosse getting played at all.
Well, you certainly seem to pick it up over those quick years. This is some of the MLL highlights from the career. The Nationals days, those purple and orange jerseys.
I get behind those uniforms now. I think
the white ones, the white and purple, I really liked.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a Syracuse thing with Kurt Steyer owning it, and
that's amazing. Look,
Kip running out of the net for the ball.
Kip start back up this shot.
No respect. He just decided to go. That was his best odds. Just go and back up the shot, assuming I was going to miss it.
Look at he takes off too. He really.
Oh, good Lord.
Fun fact, I think, Brian, you were NL and MLL Rookie of the Year, and then the following years, Brodie, you were MLL and NL Rookie of the Year. That's accurate, right?
Yep.
Handed off the title. That's
I was graduating right away, and right, like I was one of the original Trilogy staff members, and we had a lot of fun right after college there for me, and getting to know Ryan and Rob Lindsay, and just before your time, Mitch. But it was we had some great times, like doing different camps, and so that was a fun time for sure.
Talking about this Rattlers team was the one where it was like you, Junior, right? Casey. Is that this all on the same team?
Brodie, yeah, Mitch isn't ready to hear about Trilogy times before him. He's like, let's get.
I missed you. I think I missed you by 1 year. There was one bay. My first Bayhead summer, I think, was the next year after the one that you're talking about.
You still do the Bayhead camp?
No,
we do not. Only recently, though.
Man, that was so much fun.
You're ready to bring it back. I mean, this might be the summer.
Let me know, because I'd love to bring my kids down and do it. But yeah, I remember watching that game, the championship game with you guys, with the Barrage and the Riptide. And the funny story is in the semifinals, and that was actually one of the more disappointing weekends, is that because it was in Rochester, we were hosting, and we had a really good team. It was the Barrage and us kind of were going neck and neck all season. But the Friday night before playing you on the Saturday, Mitch, we were in a Canadian Eastern finals where there was probably 4 or 5 players that were playing against each other on the Friday night in like this intense double overtime game, and then we're all driving
Canadian pro box league,
Saturday.
Right?
Yeah, so playing box on the Friday night, and then driving to Rochester to play with each other in that semifinal game, and so yeah, we ended up losing to you guys, but it was.
So you're coming up with excuses, is what you're saying?
That was the excuse. That was the excuse.
No, I'd say that's a pretty good one. How about, remember when the Nationals used to play right downtown Toronto at that soccer stadium? That place was awesome. Was it BMO?
That was the funnest summer. I think we actually won it that year, and we played right downtown. It was at the MLS soccer stadium right on the water there, and I was living like 5 minutes from the stadium. And
there's a Lac Shacks video of your place in the in downtown Toronto.
I'm surprised that Lac Shacks hasn't been run back during this whole time.
Well, everyone just naturally gets it through these Zooms. It's kind of like you piece it together yourself.
That's true.
Let's take a look at this next one.
We ran a day camp, Brodie. Do you remember in Austin, Texas? Me, and Matt Ward, and I'm blanking on like.
Oh yeah.
But you just like Matt Ward, and like I don't think those kids even knew, like, you know, who barely knew who any of us were, let alone me, but like you fast forward and everything that, you know, you and Matt and, oh my God, Ulrich, that's amazing. I wonder if they even realized like 15, 20 years later that was the case.
Well, it was, I remember like just those early years after college, like going and working all these different camps and having those great experiences with you and Trilogy. It was you got to meet so many different people. I felt like it was great for your like network, lacrosse network, and then just from like a coaching standpoint too, picking up all these different things from different players. I remember actually, I still do this with younger kids, Ryan, is that little stick warm up that you do. Just kind of like different little, I don't know if you still do that at all, but it was the first camp I ever worked with you. I feel like it was at McDonough, or I can't even remember where it was, but I still, that's what you pick up so much through those experiences at working camps. So I love that. And seeing a lot of different cities like that, that's the only time. And Austin's such a great city, and seeing a lot of different parts of the country was pretty cool. And meeting Matt Ulrich. He was our directions guy on camps.
Oh my God,
camps with Trilogy, but then got to work with him again at Reebok, and this seems like a lifetime ago.
Walk us through this video. What is happening?
Yeah, that I don't even know.
Is this like
you're explaining
behind
it
the
here.
back, sidearms, underhands, over the shoulder, straight overhand shot.
Dr. Brodie in the house.
Those stickers were real. I think they were just like trying to simulate kind of a scientific gauging shot speed, but it was all. I think that was Zach Greer with a broken thumb there, trying to hide it with the doctor's suit on, or scientist suit.
There it is. Oh man, yeah. So this is when this is post Lumberjacks days, right? Who are you playing for in this?
I actually think on this exact trip, I got picked up by the Edmonton Rush after Portland had folded. So they had like an expansion draft. And I remember being I don't know why I remember this, but on this shoot, when I found out that, I was going to Edmonton to play for the Rush. And
Probably fired up about that, getting to see a new part of the country, right?
well, it's a funny story with my wife. She's like, when that all went down, my old coach, Derek Keenan, went to Edmonton. And so Alex was like, because I've been traveling back and forth to Portland, and she's like, just tell me you're not going to Edmonton. Like, please, you're not going to Edmonton. And she literally sees on my phone Derek Keenan calling me. And I step into the other room, and he's telling me about the players that he's picking up and all this, and I come out of the room, and she's just like ready to kill me. And so I got a dog. I bought her a dog.
Is it named Edmonton? The
dog's still alive to this day. It's a little Maltese, and so that bought me a couple of years in Edmonton.
So how have those conversations progressed over the years? Because Edmonton was not the last conversation that we had to have about.
Well, it kind of set the tone, I think. I think it's
this tour model. There's this tour that. So I don't know.
Sit down. Oh man, it's I've been lucky that way wouldn't be able to have done it and pursued it as long as I have without that. And so it's in recent years we've been able to make it fun and involve our kids a lot in what I've been doing and playing and where I've been playing. So but it's definitely the hardest aspect of it for sure is trying to balance kind of your own personal life and trying to pursue your career as well.
How did you sell San Diego?
Bridal excitement in the background by Brodie right there.
That is pretty good. I would have been like, hey, have you heard of Tijuana, Mexico? It's closer than that.
San Diego was a little bit the opposite, actually. She once that whole opportunity came up, it was like, we got to do this. We got to do this while our kids are young. And we spent a lot of time there and have kind of split time. And so that's actually been one of the best experiences of my lacrosse career is getting to enjoy that. Like this year we went to San Diego for just over a month in December, spent Christmas there, and man, what an amazing place. And so that's been a really cool experience.
We're gonna get some volume on this one.
Yeah.
It's a young Zach career too.
Boom. It was impressive.
Results that we wanted.
Impressive. That's exactly what we were looking for.
I thought we were going through like more
worthy right there,
and like more strategic. And
how about I gotta go with this one. This is I'm slightly involved, so definitely partial, but this has still got to be one of the ones that a lot of people know about and talk about, right?
Well, this is actually pretty amazing, man. When you think of this, like I remember kind of thinking in this game, because Rochester, and this year we were kind of a solid team, but I feel like we had to like play, one of those teams where you just have to play to your potential to win every game, right? Like you're not, you have to play to your ceiling to win. And Rochester actually had a really good team this summer. And I remember Jordan Wolf killing the ball, maybe the fastest guy I've ever seen in lacrosse, killing the ball with maybe 5 or 6. I don't know how. I'd like to rewind it 10 seconds. How did we get
you and I double teamed it, and I think I pushed a guy directly from behind. And like I was like, they're not calling that a push, and they gave us the ball. You turned him back or something, and I like just shoved him right out of bounds from behind.
One of those where like the refs like, the game's over with anyways, whatever. Like
I think exactly that. It was like couldn't have been more clear from behind, and I was like, well, I guess they're giving it to us, and I picked up the ball.
Yeah, so like that's the kind of conspiracy theory here is that there's kind of 2 balls here.
2 balls. There is.
I dropped it before he blew the whistle, though. I definitely dropped it before he blew the whistle. But we both lined up like we had it for sure. We both had it. And you're like, you specifically go, Mitch, I got this. I was like, all right, man, whatever. Neither of us has this.
I remember saying to you, Mitch, I'm gonna shoot this year. I'm gonna shoot it. And
as if you would have done anything else.
And it was just a low, maybe like 3 or 4 bounces to the net.
No, I don't think it bounced. I'm not kidding you. If it bounced, it bounced one time.
Yeah, actually, you're right.
But he lost it.
What's in this? There's not like a clear view of it, right? Like you don't.
But
like
moon landing. Don't know that it really happened, but it did.
It was and we won it in overtime. It was just one of those fun nights, man, that you always remember in the game. It was cool.
Let's rewind. I want to see it again.
I think they've got another angle of it.
Oh, we get another. Okay. Who's in cage? Is that Galloway?
Galloway, yeah. See, they focus on me because they thought I had the ball, and then they quickly are like, oh, no, Brodie's shooting this. And this is where, like, you never really even get a clear look at it.
Did it ever go in? I think
Everyone just celebrates. That's the best trick play in all of history of lacrosse.
Davey Emila's just got a ball in his pocket. He runs by and just kind of like tosses it in.
There's a second ball in there for sure. We always had that theory. There was a Portland Lumberjacks in our championship game against Buffalo where John Tavera scored on a hidden ball trick. We still, to this day, feel like there was a second ball. And so, yeah.
Well, Brodie, you've had an unbelievable career, and you have a couple more years left in you. Think obviously the way that this one ended or I shouldn't say it's over, but has been put on pause. This certainly makes it a harder decision, I would imagine. But you think you got a couple more years left in you?
I don't know. It's I'm kind of it's definitely a strange feeling right now, just with everything that's going on. But it's it's lacrosse it kind of feels like a trivial thing to be talking about that now, but I don't know, man. I'm not sure how you guys felt, kind of at this stage. I just kind of take it year to year and see how you're doing physically, and see, the harder part is just more balancing the personal side of it and making sure that really everything's aligned. And then I guess we have an unbelievable like mentor that works with us with the SEALs. He's a retired Navy SEAL, and I think the best way he kind of said that you don't chase balance, chase like a harmony or like an alignment, and that's a kind of the way that I look at it. Is if I can have some approach a year with feeling somewhat of alignment with family and lacrosse and work, then. And it's kind of all systems go that way, then so I feel like I've been saying that for the last few years, but just take it year to year and feel like, yeah, if I can put everything I can into this and commit to it and have some good kind of harmony with the rest of my life, then I'm gonna keep pursuing it.
Awesome. Well, couple quick responses here to wrap things up. You've had, I actually, first, can you just run down every city you've played in at least for box? Because I think that's we did it with Dan, and it's like, you got to see some really cool places and got to explore cities you never would have gone to. And you've had a similar path where you've gotten to see a lot of the NLL's unique homes.
Well, it's cool. Like in a locker room, there's nothing like being in a locker room and the people that you meet, like the connections that you have, and something different about calling somebody a teammate, right? And I, just in the last 14 years, just playing so much summer box lacrosse and MLL and PLL and NLL. It's been a pretty crazy journey that way. With the NLL, I started in Portland, and I was starting to think, I'm sure Dan feels the same way, like you start to feel like, is it me? Like, what's going on with these franchises?
Dan's the ultimate folder. Dan and Casey Powell, those two have the the black finger of death for a franchise.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I got a really savvy advice from one NLL vet. And it was like, I forgot, it was like my rookie, maybe it was my second year. And he's like, once you get traded once, He's like, once you join that second team, then all bets are off.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say always be on an expansion team. They blow it out the first year, and then the next year it just falls right off.
That is a. Yeah, then talking about the Nationals, I don't know how many times it's happened where the first year is just unbelievable. The hotels, the travel, everything. But then things come back down to earth a little bit. But yeah, I started in Portland, and then they folded, and went to and it was amazing. I had such a great experience there. In every city, really. You never think that you always think that your team that you're playing for is going to be the last team that you play for. But and then I went to Edmonton and had like one of the best years of my career, and then one of the worst years of my career. I just spent 2 years there, and just for various reasons. But we kind of had a magical season our first year, and then the second year was just really tough, and combined with the travel and how cold that city is. But I actually really like Edmonton's got a great like kind of spirit to it. It's a great small Canadian city, and I really enjoyed it there overall. And then
much better later in the NLL season, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. It's cold there up there, but you don't spend one funny thing about Edmonton, not to digress too much, but you don't spend a lot of time outside when you're there. Like there's a lot of underground, like you're in malls, you get like there's honestly some weekends where I didn't see the light of day.
Well, the only time I went to Saskatchewan was for the playoffs in like May or June, and I was like, "This is beautiful. What are they doing?"
Yeah.
Yeah, those cities are a lot different in February.
And then I got traded to first time ever being traded to Philly, and which was kind of cool because it was going back east, and that's when I played with Dan. He was the first pick in the expansion draft that year after Boston had folded. And I played with Dan earlier in Portland. I'm sure he talked about it being like the rental player for a year, like our loan player.
No. via the Phoenix Sting or
the Arizona Sting folded, and they said they're just taking a hiatus. So
it was a year off.
They're lending the players out for a year, and so we got to borrow Dan for a year. But they never came back, and then he went back into the expansion draft to Boston, and it was basically just realigning the league. But so he ended up being in Philly with us for a year, and I was in Philly for 3 years, and kind of thought that would be my last stop. And had some ups and downs, and that's in that franchise as well. But it was kind of neat. It was one of those, a lot of American influence there with like guys like Max Sebald and Joel White and Drew Westervelt and Mundorf, and
yeah, would have been great to be on that team.
No kidding. That
was the reason I had retired. It's because Boston folded, and we had the number 1 pick in the expansion draft, and we had the number 1 pick in the college draft, and Crowley was the clear front runner. And so
the only offensive stud from Canada that's ever a righty, of course.
So I looked to my left and looked to my right, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't gonna end well." So they're like, "Hey, see you later, RB. Like, peace. We got Dawson coming in. We drafted Crowley. See you later."
I don't want to, whatever. It is what it is now. You can I don't know, get frustrated at it or whatever, but it really had the makings. There was a lot there where it could have done really well.
I don't hold any ill will. It made total sense. I would have made the exact moves.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I was more like, it would have been fun to play with you in that set.
Yeah, just imagine, Dan Dawson, Kevin Crowley, Ryan Boyle, Drew West. That would have been a pretty, but anyways, they ended up, which was tough because Philly ended up, folding there, and that was tough because it was a franchise that had been around for so long, so it had such a great history, and it wasn't going well on the floor and or off the floor, so that was kind of a challenging time in the game, and was fortunate enough that they moved to New England, and that's when my wife got pregnant with twins. So I was lucky to the guys, a guy by the name of Rich Lisk and also Mike French, who's one of the best guys in the game, treated me so well. Like I just went to them and asked if I could be traded home to Toronto, and they did. I was fortunate enough where they agreed to that, and so got to play at home for 4 years, and that was some of the the funnest times in my career, playing with my brother for a couple of years, and just a lot of guys that I had grown up with and been around for a long time. Terry Sanderson, who was a longtime NLL coach and GM, who I grew up, I'd played for a long time at younger ages, and he ended up trading for me there and passed away right before my first season there. And we had a really just one of those teams. I'm sure you guys have been on a few of those teams, just like you can kind of count, on one hand, just the amount of great teams you've been on, and that was one of them. And we ended up losing that year in the finals, but it was just one of those cool years, special years. And then it was an older team, so saw that a lot of those players kind of move on at the end of it, at the end of that run. And then I remember, we picked up Tom Schreiber and Kieran McCardle, and that kind of rejuvenated things a little bit for the Rock, and that was a lot of fun too to experience a little bit of that. And guys like Challen Rogers and Latrell Harris, kind of a younger group, start to come up. And then when this all with San Diego came to fruition, it was my brother got the head coach and GM position. I became an unrestricted free agent. It was really a tough thing, because I was so everything was really comfortable and great for me in Toronto, but I kept getting these signs where it was like, you got to do this, man. You're never going to have this type of opportunity to do something like this again. And, and so kind of took the leap of faith. And so it's been a pretty cool experience. So that's kind of long-winded, probably more long-winded than you would have wanted, but that's been my journey through the NLL.
Awesome. Well, we'll keep the next ones a little more concise. Make it a one answer here. Do you have one? Can you pinpoint one lacrosse memory as your apex number A1 memory? If you had to, I should say.
I think it was there's been probably a lot of smaller scale that like in junior lacrosse we had an amazing team, and a lot of smaller scale. But those ones I'm sure that you guys can think of that are just kind of sentimental, for different reasons. For me, it's, I think it was after Chris Sanderson and my friend Kyle had passed away, and I know it's probably a sore subject for you because you were on the other side of it, Mitch, in 2014, but it was just really emotional. I remember just being overcome with emotion after that win, like nothing I'd ever felt before in the game. And it was one of those games where it, I don't know if you guys have experienced where time just went really fast. Like it went, the game felt like this. And I remember looking up and it being, because you guys had a late surge, and
you guys had the ball. We just couldn't get the ball. So it felt so slow for us because we were like, well, it went fast, but we were like, we can't get the ball. We couldn't get possessions. And then it was like,
it would have been really, to be on the other side of it would have been really and the funny thing of that, people always thought that wasn't like a game plan, man. It really happened.
You guys have said, yeah.
It just happened. It was at the end of I think it was the third quarter where Halsey was all our mutual friends, Jordan Hall had the ball just behind the net. We're just like, just hold on to it. Like we're all just kind of.
I remember that, yeah.
And Cam Holding ended up scoring off of that possession, which kind of I felt like was a nail in the coffin at that point. But then there was a late surge, and you guys started coming back, getting the ball, and winning face-offs, and it was a little bit like chaotic there. Like I remember feeling very chaotic, and then looking up and seeing that the game was over. And it was, I don't know, just my daughter was out there with my wife and my family, and I just found out that I had twins, and I couldn't tell anybody that we were having twins. And I remember my trainer asking me, like, "Are you all right? Like, you don't look like you're," and I couldn't tell anybody. But and then with Chris and Kyle, it was just kind of a really emotional type of win. And so, yeah, that was it for me.
That's awesome. Do you know I was roommates with Kyle Miller in New York City for like 2 years?
I feel like we've had a couple of these where it's just like kind of shit's dancing in the night where,
Kyle was obviously a Cornell guy, and him, Casey Lewis and I, we had my first New York City apartment was on 21st Street, East 21st, or maybe it's 19th Street, between 1st and 2nd.
He loved you too, Mitch, man. Like he used to, I remember him always talking about, oh man, we got this guy that's tough as nails that can play in the NLL. He's a freak athlete. And so that was actually in that time, that was such a fun time getting to hang out with him in New York City and that crew of, I got to know actually a lot of Cornell people just through Kyle, and so always felt kind of connected that way.
How about kind of a good segue? Who would you consider your ultimate teammate over the years? Any level?
Man, there's been so many great ones, man. Like I'm sure you guys feel it too in different at different phases of your career, right? In different teams. Like
Dane Dawson said, almost identical word for word that thing. I was like, different people, different phases in your life and your career made such a big impact.
Yeah. And even in the moment too. Like even on my San Diego team now, like guys like Kyle Buchanan and Cam Holding, guys that you just really. And I mean, in our time in Boston, like we had a lot of, just great close relationships personally with you two and some other guys there too. It's, I mean, my brother too is playing with him. We've always kind of had that, been so close, and Kyle, we were, a really long time teammates. Dan was another guy. Dan was a guy that I always think with a teammate, you guys can talk to this too, is that you kind of look across and you kind of know, so you have some context in how much they put into it, how much you can trust them. That's always what I've always appreciated in a great teammate, where you don't have to really worry about their level of preparation, that you can, that they're going to put the work in, and you two are among those guys. And I remember Dan just thinking, watching him on the floor, it's just like, man, I have such trust in him because I know how much he works and puts into it. Between times, and a lot of times it's like, it's after the games. It's, you have these, I don't know if you guys feel this when you're playing professional lacrosse, they feel very much like two worlds. You're stepping into a completely new world when you step off that plane, or when you get to the field or the arena. They're very like, you're almost in this little bubble together, right? Of this highly emotional, you got physical, emotional, mental that you're going through with your teammates, and so there is a really a special, unique bond that you carry with you, and then you step on the flight oftentimes Sunday morning, and you're kind of all going back to your own lives, right? That
Sunday afternoon, and you're talking to like a civilian, and they're like, "So, what'd you do last night, Brodie?" And you're like, just typical Saturday night, Bill.
Flew to Hamilton, Ontario, played a game, went out in Hess Village.
Overnight thriller, my arm's killing me. I did this. Just Bill, just stroll the park. Just, no big deal.
Like you have these like that, I always think it's just such the vast contrast of like when my kids were young, playing a game on a Saturday night and then taking my daughter to like toddler gymnastics. Looking down on me, as you said, when he's looking down on my arms and just seeing like these, like, what are these people thinking that like I've got bumps and bruises, maybe have, a cut on my chin or something like that. And I always like professional lacrosse Sundays are like that's zombie. Like it's a zombie day.
Especially box, yeah.
In box, where the NLL is like this. It's talking to Chris Schiller about this. It's like the intensity of the emotional intensity over the course of a season, and it's like that in field too, but it's just different in box, where it's just everything's a little bit heightened in terms of the intensity, right? And then when you step
car wash last night? That was what you elected to do with your time? Oh, okay. That's weird. It's like, Ryan, what's wrong with your kneecaps? Why do you not have any skin on
Why is your kneecap so swollen? Shouldn't you be going to a hospital? That doesn't look good, man.
Oh, good Lord.
Is that hit, man, that you took? I have to say, Ryan, man, like, and then Mitch and I, like, and I was talking to this about my buddy recently, is like playing defense is much more well suited to longevity. Ryan, like some of the hits that you're like,
we got to make a compilation.
Ryan's one of the toughest players that I've ever played with, man. Like, and you, and you're such like kind of a gentle personality, like, but like on the field, ultra competitive. But like some of the because you, for a guy that's not the biggest guy in the world, you would back in on guys and you go to that, you crease dive and like that nice hit, man.
I'm telling you, he's got liquid mode. There's some like superpower where he turns the liquid, splashes, and then pops right back up. It's unbelievable.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I'm not playing anymore.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But
all right, Brodie, last question. You've played in a lot of different places. Favorite place to play?
So I'll just go with these ones, like Quick Instinct, Portland, Oregon. Such a place I had never been to before I got drafted there, and it was one of those things. I just graduated from college and I got drafted. I'm like, I'll just go for it, right? And it was a really cool, unique city. Kind of appealed to a lot of my like sensibilities and some of the things that I enjoy to do. And so for me it was Portland.
Favorite Stanley Tucci movie?
Oh man, I've been away from movies in recent years, so we used to have a lot of good movie talks.
Are you getting into like the Toy Story quadrant, all the kids versions?
Yeah, and there's some good stuff out there for sure. What's that?
Is your boy Stanley a voice actor in any of those?
He may be.
Are you catching the same reference that I'm throwing?
Yeah. The kind of random actor that that's been in so many.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Brodie. Well, I got dad duty coming up here. I'm sure you probably have the same. Not too long, but it was awesome spending some time with you. And like you said, like these might just be for us because it's like you said, it's like going back in the locker room and having some of these chats that we used to have. But really appreciate it and consider you in the top echelon of teammates I've ever had. So the Hill Academy boys and girls are lucky to have you guys, and we're looking forward to hopefully more lacrosse to come, and stay safe out there.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. It was a good excuse just to see your faces again and to connect, and I miss you guys, and yeah, definitely like learned a lot from both of you in my career, and appreciated our time together. So thanks, guys. Stay in touch. All right.
Thanks, Brodie.
Yeah.
Okay. See you guys.